been. The two of us need to look no more. We both found what we were looking for. Oh, with a friend to call my own, I'll never be alone. And you, my friend, will see you've got a friend in me. You've got a friend in me. Like being a friend, like being. Hello YouTubers, welcome to my channel. I just thought I needed to start this video off with one of my favorite songs and a masterpiece by none other than Michael Jackson. My goodness, I hope you enjoyed that little piece, little rendition of that song. Of course, I'm back again to provide a wrap-up analysis and review of the second part of Leaving Neverland. In this video, I will give a general synopsis and review of both parts and my general impression, and if it's changed any of my perspectives or the perspectives of many people around the world. I want to start off by saying it hasn't. I woke up today energized, just finished playing a whole playlist of Michael Jackson songs. I have loads and loads and loads of Michael Jackson songs. He's the #1 artist that dominates. And I encourage everyone to go and continue to download and stream his music and promote his legacy. This second part of this documentary yielded nothing. It yielded nothing. Like this whole documentary. I will go through some of the parts before just giving a general conclusion on the matter. This time I noticed they kind of switched it around and gave Wade more time in the beginning, and then focused on Safe Chalk. So they kind of turned it around from the first special, in which James Safe Chalk kind of dominated that time. So with Wade, he talked about the 1993 sleepover at Neverland, and this is when, as I mentioned in the last video, supposedly this is where the jealousy was setting in, because he saw Jordan Chandler and Macaulay Culkin at this sleepover, and he felt then that they were more special to Michael, and they were closer to Michael, and allegedly he was close to Michael, like they were close to Michael, and the jealousy set in at that sleepover. And even though he has no proof or basis for saying this, he alleged that he believed acts were going on with the these other individuals during this time. And then they segue into the Chandler allegations. So in which it was admitted that it was all for the money, which this documentary and the motives and intentions of Robson and Safe Chalk are all about the money as well. So And in 1993, I would admonish you, the defense statement that Michael Jackson posed to the public was played. I would admonish you to go back and listen to that. It's not just Michael Jackson fans. I think most people that look at that video objectively, go back to the 93 video, you can see the sincerity, you can see the truth beaming out of Michael Jackson. Then you add the acquittal of not guilty on all counts to that, and then you add on the fact that there's no proof, no evidence at all. It's not alone, some people are saying criminal evidence, there's not even any evidence. Because as a Pearl Jr. documentary filmmaker said, shout out to her again, I would admonish you to also check out her channel. She's amazing. But as she stated, the director, Dan Reed, tried to present things in a way to make it look negative, to come across as being or to try to put us in the mind of a pedophile, but it didn't work really. I think for most people that watch this, as she stated, they had some video footage of Michael holding some of the children's hands and interacting with the children on stage and dancing with the children, all that. And as she stated, Michael Jackson knew those cameras were there. That's not evidence of anything. Michael Jackson knew the cameras were there, and it wasn't just these two individuals. There were different children that he escorted on stage, that he danced with, that he interacted with, that he held their hands. So none of that proves anything, and to me it's useless footage, because if what they're trying to prove is, according to these boys, is that Michael Jackson was guilty of these allegations and he sought to try to hide all these things, then why in public on video camera would he do anything, hold hands, interact with the children? Why would he do anything, give children the time of day, if supposedly he was doing all this with children, and then the trial was coming up and all these things were coming up, and yet he knew the cameras were there? So it was completely innocent, all that Michael Jackson did. It was completely innocent. And they went over trying to explain why Safe Chuck and Robson denied the claims for years and years and years. I also would like to note that it took forever for Wade Robson to go to see a therapist. And when he did go to see his therapist, it was years and years and years, supposedly, that he went through his whole life trying to, get better and recuperate from these alleged allegations. Yet he never told his therapist about any abuse. This is a person that we know that you're supposed to be able to have confidential communication with, it's supposed to stay between you and them. It used to be that way with priests, but we know why that's been eliminated. And yes, they are mandated reporters, and I know because I have parents that are in the field and that, have worked in mental health for many years, so I know the guidelines. Also, I've taken courses and have certain certificates in certain areas of mental health as well. So I know how things work. Yes, they are mandated reporters, so if there's something that it will harm you or will harm somebody else, they're mandated to report that to the necessary bodies, just to protect you and to protect someone else. So, but generally, what you say to them is confidential, And not until he found it convenient for him did he supposedly tell a therapist about um, these allegations. And soon it was all kind of put together in a way to promote himself and make money, really, because he tells the therapist, and not long after he tells the therapist, then he goes on interviews. This is in 2013 when he accused Michael Jackson. Then he goes on interviews alleging this, and then he writes a book. And then not long after that, he sues the estate for, I think, over $1 billion. So this was all a build up, to everything. This is when he finally supposedly told his wife. So this is a build up. It was a build up to everything he was trying to create. And then the book wasn't successful. People didn't really believe him. They still don't believe him. And then he goes, creates a war with the estate, or what he thinks is a war, not really a war, to try to get money, and that fails. And now the documentary. So there's the track record for Wade Robson. Follow the money, as Lonnie Love says. Follow the money. So they tried to explain why they lied, and then they try to explain, like I said, they try to bring up Jordan Chandler, and they mentioned the case and the settlement and everything. I think that may have been one of the biggest mistakes that Michael Jackson made was the settlement with Jordan Chandler. We all know that he was innocent. We all know that his father, who I believe was a dentist, he lied and persuaded, his child to lie in order to, seek millions from Michael. I looked at the deposition, and I've worked with victims, and I've seen people, and to me, you can tell that boy was coached into lying. He was coached into lying. But I think Michael just he didn't want to deal with it because it was a story. He knew he was innocent, and I think he may have been advised by his lawyers or whoever advised him, to settle. But he wanted it to go away. He didn't want to deal with it. But of course, it always, it can always be a bad look that someone can use later. Michael Jackson probably never thought that there would be anything else that would follow. But I think what's important to note is that all of this was taken into account with the settlement. People had opportunities to testify. The FBI conducted a very, detailed and thorough investigation. An investigation in which, after it was completed, Michael Jackson did not want to ever again go back to live at Neverland Ranch. That's how they ravaged through his things and interrogated him and took pictures of him nude. And after all that, he was done with that. So he didn't sell Neverland, which is interesting, but it just sat there dormant. It was maintained, but he didn't want anything else to do with that, because something that he had tried to create to make children and families happy was now something that was being used to demean him and try to destroy him. And it didn't destroy him, and it still won't. But obviously it created pain and sadness for Michael. Wade also, he alleges some very crazy things. He alleges that after the Jordan Chandler allegations that came out with accusations of a lewd act with a minor, after that came out, after that was settled, he claims that his time with Michael had decreased, but that he still went to see Michael. And when he would see Michael, every time he would see Michael, something would go on sexually. This is what he alleges. Now, sit there in your chair, sit there wherever you are, and just think that for them to try to make us believe that, we would have to believe, and I can't even fathom that to say this, but they're trying to make us believe that Michael Jackson is stupid, that Michael Jackson has no common sense, that Michael Jackson doesn't have any understanding of anything. That's what they're trying to make us think, because any rational person would know. First of all, we know he was innocent and it wasn't true, but any person would know that if you just got accused of something, or that, wouldn't you try to stay under the radar? You wouldn't go after accusations come up and then continue to molest more children and more children and more children. And this is what they're trying to make us believe, both of them, that after these allegations that he continued to molest them. And then after, and then they, how they tried to present it is in 1994 when he got married to Lisa Marie Presley. They tried to say that was a cover-up, and that he told them that he had to get married and he couldn't see them as much anymore. Lisa Marie Presley, who is Elvis Presley's daughter, she has maintained the same words and the same facts that she stated. She was in love with Michael. They loved each other, and yes, to many people it did seem like a publicity stunt or something, because you have Michael Jackson and Elvis Presley. That's the way people, even though it's Michael Jackson and Lisa Marie Presley, the way people think of it in their mind is, this is Elvis Presley's daughter, so they're thinking Elvis Presley and Michael Jackson together. And to put Michael Jackson and Elvis Presley together, you don't need any other musician. This is not to discredit any other musician, but to put Elvis Presley and Michael Jackson together, when you see just the two of them, how much they dominated the world with music and just their whole persona and personality. But anyway, it's interesting to see how they've maintained, even past his death. Lisa Marie Presley has supported him. Debbie Rowe has supported him, who a lot of people, said was mean and, had ulterior motives and all this. They have continued to support him. Macaulay Culkin has continued to support him. Corey Feldman has defended Michael as well. And I think, as I've said, a documentary needs to be made, and I'm sure the Jackson estate will consider that, to highlight these points, because it was very one-sided, and there was only very little time given to any defense. And it was after they had tried to demean him as much as they could, and all they did was just play, a little clip of him defending himself. That's not adequate for an objective documentary. And then Wade says he goes so far because, there has to be some sort of dramatic ending. And so supposedly his ending with Michael, he alleges that Michael Jackson tried to penetrate him in his anus region, and that it hurt, so he had to stop. And then they went back to doing the other sexual things that they had allegedly done before, and then he says the next day Michael calls him and says, "Where's your underwear? Where's your underwear?" And then Michael Jackson asks him, "Do you does it have blood on it?" And Wade says, "Oh, I'll go try to find it." And he said he found blood on it. So he's trying to, this is crazy what he's alleging, trying to allege that Michael Jackson penetrated him and caused him to bleed. And that was his last sexual experience with Michael Jackson. And this is what he tries to make people believe. And yet, and still, he tried to maintain that, oh, this is innocent. I enjoyed it. There was, I didn't feel anything wrong with it, or wrong with what I'm alleging, or whatever. As I said, it's based in subjectivity and not objectivity. Supposedly, this occurred at the Hilton. So this is what I'm saying. It's about the facts. As I've said before with the Me Too movement, I have respect for the Me Too movement, but it has gone too far. And you have to have facts to back up what you're saying, or else any of us can be accused of anything, and any person can lose their credibility and career and everything over false allegations. That's why it has to be backed up. And especially in the States, you have to, everywhere, you have to back up what's being said. And so let's go back. He says it happened at the Hilton. Where are the records for the time and date that this supposedly happened? Where are the records for them knowing that either Michael Jackson or his company or someone associated booked this room? Where's the cameras to show that Michael Jackson was there and that the kid walked in? And where is the evidence? These are things that you put in a documentary to try to support if you have any basis for what you're saying. No cameras, no videotapes, no records, fake notes that they've written up trying to say that it's Michael Jackson's handwriting, no documentation as to the records of these faxes and phone calls. And then never once, which I find interesting, you're talking about a pop star, you're talking about the biggest person in the world, never once do you record any of these these phone conversations you're saying for hours. And then they tried to create a dramatic ending also by showing his albums being burnt and supposed memorabilia that they can't even prove Michael Jackson gave them. They allege that Michael Jackson gave them this memorabilia. Oh, my. It just makes no sense. That, as I said, I think that's where, for the viewers, it really went out the door when they tried to allege that after Michael Jackson had been accused, that he continued to molest children. I think that's probably one of the most unbelievable things ever, because everyone knows that if someone's accused of anything or whatever, they try to keep a low profile when it comes to repeating the same thing. So that is not even how most people think when it comes to anything. And so it goes, I think, too far, really. I'm looking down at my notes now to see. I did note also that the documentary was inflated. There were a lot of things presented, as I've said, in a negative light. They tried to blame, Wade tries to blame his family splitting up, which was his mother's decision to move from Australia to Los Angeles. She was an opportunist, looking to get a ticket into America, or visa into America, which Michael Jackson's company helped her get, looking to profit off of Michael and to be taken care of by Michael. And she was tired of her husband. She admitted through the documentary, even in part 1, that she had problems in a relationship. Her Wade's dad was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. They had issues in their family, and they tried to blame his suicide on Michael Jackson, and he tries to blame, his life on Michael Jackson, when it was a decision for her to move there and to leave her 2 children behind. And they already had problems with their own life, in their own marriage. That had nothing to do with Michael. And Wade, all I have to say as it pertains to him is he has to be the one to lay his head on the pillow and sleep at night, because people know in themselves, when they're lying, and it will eventually, eat away at them. It's, and the truth will come out. The truth will come out. And the truth has come out. The truth has come out. Then they try to bring their wives into it who didn't witness or see anything. And then conveniently, this is what makes this second part just unbelievable. Some of the things that are said and heard in here. Supposedly, I believe it's Wade, hadn't even told his wife about any of the allegations. And yet, not long before he tells her, conveniently, she has a dream that Michael Jackson molested him. And then, shortly after, he tells her Michael Jackson molested him. There were so many lies and holes in this second part. It was, I would say it was much worse than the second part. And let me tell you this. You can see how most people think, or what most people think of this documentary, because the viewership went down dramatically. So you can see what people thought about this. So then they bring the wives out that didn't witness. They bring the families in that advocated for Michael that didn't witness anything and supposedly wasn't aware of any of these allegations that were being made. And then they create this story that, because they have children, that's what causes them to have panic attacks and anxiety attacks, because they're remembering what was allegedly done to them. And then Wade says something that, I imagine Michael molesting, he imagined Michael molesting his child. And I thought it was interesting that they mentioned about the concerns of their children and supposedly imagining Michael Jackson molesting their children, yet they made no mention of Michael's children, the 3 children that Michael has. And they're also apparently not thinking or not caring about what any of these false allegations are doing to Michael Jackson's children. But if they could hear me now, I would tell the children, be not dismayed. Be not dismayed. Let me see. And then Ray Robson is that, like I said, that's why they couldn't do this documentary just with him. That's why he wasn't successful. Look back at when these allegations started. It was Wade in 2013 that started by himself. Nobody gave him the time of day because he had lied so much. He lied when he was accusing him, but then also he had went out there and advocated and defended Michael and all these things, and yet he switches, and he still has no credibility. And nobody would believe anything he said. They had to try to bring someone else in, which is James Safechuck, to try to make these claims valid when they're not. But it didn't work when he tried it on his own, because people know that he's a liar. They're both liars. But he's been worse in publicly lying. Um, Safechuck made claims that he was threatened because he wouldn't testify, and he promised not to say anything. And as I've said, James doesn't really talk as much. But their wives, tried to say that they had marital problems, which they believe was attributed to this. And there's just a lot of false claims. But let me see. I've also taken some notes from Pearl Jr. as well. So family members didn't witness anything. Also, Rob and Safechuck say that they didn't feel anything was wrong with the supposed alleged relationship. Even though they were told that this is wrong, supposedly this would ruin his career, this would ruin both of them, they would go to jail, but yet they didn't think anything was wrong. And what's interesting is they try to act like at 7, 8, 9 years old that they're these brilliant masterminds that's able to understand everything that's going on. They're trying to explain something on a 36 to 40-year-old level at the time of a 7-year-old. That's not even believable. Some of the things they say is not even how a 7, 8, 9-year-old would even think. They have bad moral character. Michael Jackson has also won a $2.7 million judgment over a supposed videotape. As I said, there's been no evidence. If there was videotape, if there was evidence, it would have been out there. There's no way, with how big Michael Jackson still is, that these things wouldn't leak if there was evidence, if there was videos, if there were documents, that these things wouldn't have leaked. There's no way. Especially with it, him passing on now. Some people don't believe he's passed on, but with him passing on officially now, there's just no way. Also, they didn't pay much attention or didn't highlight the children that defended Michael. And that's why I'm saying, I know a documentary will be coming out. I know the state will have something, because it's going to be powerful. When you see all of the children, because you're talking about two individuals, when you see all of the children, all the people that defend Michael and that tell the truth of the matter, this false narrative, false documentary will fade in the wind. Will fade in the wind. I also want to say this last thing. This documentary is based in subjectivity and not objectivity, and they attempted to throw out all evidence that supported Michael Jackson's innocence to accommodate the story of two proven liars that are after money. And Oprah has also done that. She's thrown out the facts. She was always supposed to be the person that, that was in the search for the truth, and she's thrown out all legitimate facts. The fact that Michael Jackson was paid $2.7 million for false allegations over a videotape. The FBI investigated him. They tore through his Neverland ranch. They took pictures of his body. He was acquitted and unanimously by a jury through a trial, which is supposed to be how things are done. He was acquitted. There were no videos. There were no evidence. All these years passed by. There are no allegations. There was also a hotline. I didn't know that. Pearl Jr. said there was a hotline for 20 years. There were people that were supposedly abused, or if people suffered abuse at the hands allegedly of Michael Jackson, they could have called. All these things were done. There's a continuum, there's a pattern of how Wade has operated, and he's after money. And if he would just work and grind like all of us have to, he wouldn't have to resort to character assassination and lies to make money. And it's sad. It's sad. But in a nutshell, after watching this documentary, to me, it confirms Michael Jackson's innocence, and to many people, it confirms his innocence. And in my opinion, any legacy, anything can take a blow, but I think that his legacy will be stronger. We will band together as Michael Jackson fans, as Michael Jackson supporters, and, you know, I admonish us, like I said, to buy his music, to promote his legacy. I think he's going to totally crowd the charts. He's going to blow up everywhere. They don't realize they're trying to create negative attention to profit, but what they don't realize is that this false narrative and false attempt will help the full truth to be revealed, and will only help Michael Jackson's legacy. And that's the way that I see it, and the way that I know it. I haven't yet watched After Neverland, that special, but I will watch it if I'm able to find it, and then I will also give a response on After Neverland. I just think it's totally horrible, you know, what she's done. As I said, the documentary would have had a different level of credibility, and Oprah Winfrey would have had a different level of credibility if there was evidence support what they were saying, if there were recordings of things that were said inappropriate, if there were documents, if there were videos, if there was proof that there were hotel rooms or different things that these boys were in, and that they were allegedly in there with Michael, and that there was proof of him being there, and there was videotapes of them being in there with him, if there were videotapes and accounts of you know, people walking in on things, and there's enough corroboration, if there was banding together of the staff that came together as a unit, and you had all the staff banding together to say their stories, if there was any proof of the jury being influenced, or anything in the trial, if there these are the sort of things that you need to try to prove something. You know, it's not enough to put two known liars, especially Wade Robson, who has a bad track record. I won't go over it again, but just look up Wade Robson and what he's done in his pursuit for money. What he's done, and supposedly he was so devastated and having panic attacks and all this, and he was still trying to pursue to be a part of Michael Jackson's. He was still trying to pursue to what I found out is that they lied on the documentary. Wade Robson, who was so devastated by Michael and so abused and having all these panic attacks and having to tell people the supposed truth and all this, he was the one that requested tickets from the Jackson family to attend Michael Jackson's memorial. And I'm surprised he even got tickets. I don't know why he got tickets, but he shouldn't have gotten tickets. So a lot of the things that's being said doesn't make any sense. But as I said, there's no credibility for this documentary, and there's no credibility for Oprah Winfrey, because there's not a shred of evidence, of documentation, of photos, of video calls or anything. This little footage that they showed, nothing of it is evidence. Nothing is incriminating. This is what we know of Michael. This is what we've seen of Michael. He knows cameras are around. He was trying to be nice and generous to these people and to these families, and they took advantage of his kindness, took his kindness for weakness, or whatever you want to say. So it means nothing. And one of Michael's friends talked over here in the UK, and I think is it Mark Lester? I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but it holds no water, this documentary, and it will be destroyed. And Dan's Reed credibility is going to go down the toilet, and Oprah Winfrey has her credibility is going to go down the toilet, and for her to be willing to potentially end her career, I won't say totally end her career, but affect her career for liars that don't have any evidence to prove what they have to say or allege, I'm surprised by Oprah. But anyway, I'll leave it at that, and I will be replying also to the After Neverland special, and posting more videos. Subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, um, and comment below as well. Um, I will say I'm open to hearing anything everyone has to say. However, I won't harbor negative, and how do I say, a negative environment where there's no facts to be backed up. You know, I had some people that commented and messaged saying that they, know associates that, are sending them messages on Facebook and other platforms telling them the truth of what they know or what they don't know. And none of these people have come out publicly to say anything. Nobody's saying anything, but allegedly there's, all these stories. People are coming out now. They didn't come out all these years when supposedly all this abuse was happening, but supposedly they're coming out now. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe below, and see you later. Bye-bye.